Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 1st October 2025. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and the Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your examination. In the initial two articles, we have included two mains practice questions which will be highly beneficial for your upcoming mains examination. So in the first topic, we'll explore the rising crisis of farmer suicides in India, examining the root causes, regional trends, government response, as well as the long-term solutions. After that, we'll look into the alarming rise in the road accidents across India, analyzing key causes, data trends, policy gaps, as well as the way forward for the road safety. Then in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we'll try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also included some key prelims pointers along with previous year questions to help your boosting the prelims preparation. So stay tuned. So let's start with the first topic, that is daily deaths in fields, the reality of farmer suicides. The context of this topic is that the National Crime Records Bureau NCRB reported that 10,786 farmers and agricultural workers committed suicides in year 2023. And this is related to your GS paper 3 agriculture, as well as you can relate it with your GS paper 2 issues related to vulnerable sections as well as government policies and interventions. So suicide is the death that is caused by self-inflicted injury with an intent to die. Now, the Emil Durkheim, who is a sociologist, categorizes suicide based on the level of integration or regulation in the society. He says that suicide is not an individual act, but because of the over or under regulation of the society, over or under integration in the society fuels the suicidogenic impulses in the individual, and that is the reason they takes this path of suicides. For example, based on the integration, it can be categorized into egoistic and altruistic suicide. For example, the youth who takes the path of suicide when they are not integrated with the community, when the community bonds are not strong, when they are battling with the loneliness, they don't find it comfortable, or they don't find any individual, whether friends or any family members, with whom they can share their problem. And then they are choosing this path. Obviously, that is the case of egoistic society, where the person or individual is not integrated with the society. Similarly, the altruistic suicide, that is the case of over-integration in the society, that the community norms takes precedence over the individual choices or decisions. Whether it was the sati that was practiced or the johar that was practiced, where the community norms were taking precedence over the individual decisions. That is the case of over-integration in the society because of the norms that are established at that point of time. Then we have the fatalistic suicide and we have the anomic suicide. So fatalistic suicide is the case of over-regulation in the society. For example, what is the case in the prisons or in the slave society, where to actually come out of misery that the people were subjected to, they are choosing this path of suicide because they were over-regulated. The decisions in their lives were not because of the individual choices. Rather, there was some other body or the institutions that were the masters that were deciding the decisions of slaves or the people who are in prisons. Their individual decisions are also determined by the authorities, that at what time they will be taking food, at what time they will be coming outside of their cell, etc. So to end that misery, they are choosing the path of suicide. Then we have the anomic suicide, that is the case of normlessness in society. For example, the case of economic instability, debt trap, etc. can be called as the case of anomic suicide. And that this is what is the case with the farmer suicide also. That whenever the farmer is battling with debt trap, or they are in the vicious cycle of that debt trap and they are finding it difficult to come outside of that, they are seeing that there is no institution or body that is coming for their help, and that is the reason they are choosing this path of suicide. Now, if you look into the trends, so the farmer suicide has remained around 5 to 5.5k from 2018 to 2023. This year also, it is 4,690 farmer suicides and 6,096 were the suicides related to agricultural workers itself. Now, if you look into the trends of different states, it is the Maharashtra where we are witnessing majority of the farmer suicides. It is around 38.5%, and then we have the Karnataka with 22.5%. This is the map that is showing the farmer suicides in the India according to the states where they are being committed. Now let's try to understand what are the reasons for farmer suicides. Based on that, we will also get some answers that why Maharashtra is witnessing such high cases of farmer suicides. First important is the debt trap. What happens in the agriculture? There are some backward and some forward linkages. For example, the inputs that are required, that like seeds, fertilizers, irrigations, etc. For that, farmer needs money. And when they do not have proper money, what will they do? They will be either going to some institutional lenders like banks, where the banks will be asking for collateral, or they will be asking for some papers based on which the loan will be given to that particular farmer. But there are multiple cases where farmer find it very difficult to produce that papers based on which the institutional lending will happen. And in that case, farmer do not have option and they go to non-institutional lenders like money lenders or sahukars, who charges very high interest rate. And when the farmer has already taken loan and based on that he started the crop production, but now whether it is because of the monsoon failure, because of drought, or because of cases of incessant rainfall, or because of any kind of pest attack, if the crop fails and there is no insurance mechanism, there is no safety valve that is given to the farmer, in that case farmer's income is jeopardized, as well as farmer will find it difficult to repay back that loan or interest that he has already taken, whether it is from the banks or whether it is from non-institutional lenders. Now, in the case when he has taken it from non-institutional lenders, the interest rate are so high that it is around 30 to 40%. That majority of the income of farmers is going in paying that interest itself. And that is the reason they go into that vicious cycle of debt trap because of the crop failure that happened. Now, if you look into this Marathwada region, from few weeks, there are cases of floods that are happening. This is the same region which is drought prone with very low rainfall. Plus, they have shifted to crops like cotton, sugarcane, etc. Now, sugarcane is highly water intensive crops. Plus, cotton is a crop that is susceptible to any kind of pest attack that may happen in future. That might also lead to more crop failures, more crop losses. That is the reason with debt trap, with debt that the farmers are taking and with the incapability that they are facing with regard to the repayment of that loan, they are getting in that debt trap. Plus, when they are finding it very difficult from one year to the next year that to repay that loan, they choose this path of suicide. Also, the limited credit facilities. As per some estimates, there are only 40% formal access, but other data, and this is the data of 2020, there was a RBI report that said that the 40% agricultural credit is formal. But one of the report of NABARD says that now 70% of credit in agriculture is the formal credit itself. But still, whatever the amount that is coming from the non-institutional lenders, the interest rate are very high. Plus, that also leads to cases of bondage labor. Plus, in some of the cases, these money lenders, sahukas, etc. also takes the land of the farmers. The cropping shifts that we are witnessing. That in some cases, for example, the policies of the government where FRP is announced for the sugarcane, and where the farmer thinks that the profitability on that crop might be much higher, or the cotton that they are growing, they think that the profitability will be much higher. And that is the reason these crops are also becoming popular in the region where that crop is not suitable. And that is the reason the chances of crop failures further increases. And when crop failure will happen, again the income of farmer will be jeopardized, as well as the debt that they have already taken, it will be very difficult for them to repay that debt. Also, the productivity. If you look into this chart, which has prepared with the help of data from Ministry of Agriculture, FAO, etc. If you talk about the rice, the most productive country is China, with the productivity that is calculated based on per kg per hectare. It is around 7,000 kg per hectare, that is of China, whereas the world's average is around 4,500 per kg hectare. But India's average is below 4,000 kg per hectare with regard to the rice. Similarly, for most of the crops, whether it is wheat, maize, soybean or cotton, our productivity is much less as compared to the global average. And when it is around 86% of farmers are small and marginal, as along with that, the per capita land availability is much less. 1.08 hectare is the per capita land availability as per Agri Census 2015-16. The mechanization is less, plus the seeds that farmers are using that are also in most of the cases traditional. This leads to the cases of low productivity, and when productivity is low, obviously the remuneration or the profitability that farmers will be getting, that will also be less. And that is the reason when around 46.1% is the employment generation by the agriculture sector itself, that majority of the people are dependent on agriculture, still they are not getting earnings. Obviously, with the further pressure with regard to the various needs that they have to fulfill, whether it is the family needs, individual needs, health related, educational related needs or marriage related needs of the daughters, etc., that farmer find it very difficult to fulfill all those needs, and because of the hopelessness that they gets into, they choose the path of suicide. Then the climate change related issue, that is the erratic monsoon, that if you look into this data from September 1 to September 20 of 2024, the monsoon is slowly and gradually becoming more erratic. There are some states who are getting a lot of rainfall, there are some states who are not getting rainfall at all. And that is the reason when around 50% to 60% of the agriculture is dependent on monsoon itself, with more cases of erratic rainfalls, the productivity as well as the farmers' income is also getting jeopardized. Then the socio-cultural reasons, for example, the dowry loans, especially in the case of Punjab, Rajasthan, or the alcohol abuse that is witnessed. Farmer generally already takes loan itself. For example, just look at this data. That is about the indebtedness of agriculture households. Percentage of agri households who are in debt, that is around 50%, as well as average outstanding loan amount was 74,121. This is from the Assessment of Agricultural Household 2019, which was released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. That shows that at least 50% of agricultural households are in debt, and when they also have to meet certain other needs of the society or family. For example, they have to marry their daughter, and with the dowry culture that is prevalent, obviously they will be further taking the loans, and further they will be perishing in that poverty, because with the income that they are going to generate from the farms, it will be very difficult to pay back that loans that they are taking for marriage or for dowry. Or the alcohol abuse that is witnessed, especially in the rural areas. They already had loan, their income is already not consistent, it is erratic, it is less, and then they are again spending the amounts on the alcohol. Obviously that will further limits their chances with regard to the income or repayment of debt. Similarly, the scheme exclusion, for example, the landless laborers that are there. There is the scheme Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, PM Kisan scheme, under which 6,000 rupees are given in 3 equal installment. Now, one of the important criteria to be included in this scheme is the person should be land holding. There should be some land holding, and that is the reason now the farmers ID that are created, in which it will have the data about the farmers as well as the land that farmer have along with the crop registry, etc. It will now, this farmer ID will be connected with PM Kisan, and that will help in addressing the issue of ghost beneficiary in the PM Kisan. The people who had actual land, because the farmer ID is giving the data that whether farmer is having the land holding or not, they will be only getting the PM Kisan scheme. That shows that the landless laborers or the workers who do not have land, and majority of them are dependent on agriculture, they are not getting the benefits because they do not have land. Similarly, the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi gap, or Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, or when there is this Fasal Bima Yojana, again the coverage is very less. So because of these things, these actually fuels the reasons, or this gives further reasons to the farmers to commit suicides. Then what are the government initiatives or the initiatives that government took to address this issue of the suicides related to the farmers? The first important is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which is a crop insurance scheme to provide financial support in the case of crop failures. The insurance premium is 2% for the Kharif crop, 1.5% for Rabi crop, and 5% for the horticulture crop. Most importantly, one thing that you need to remember is that now it is optional for all farmers. Initially, it was mandatory for the farmers who have already taken the loans. This can be one of the prelims questions. So remember that Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana is now optional for all farmers. Then we have the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi that we have already seen, 6,000 rupees in 3 equal installments for all the land holding farmers. There are some exclusion categories, for example, people who are holding the constitutional positions, whether at present or previously, they will be excluded from the benefits of PM Kisan. Then we have the agricultural debt waiver and relief scheme that happened in 2008. Around 36 million farmers benefited. Along with that, 65,000 crore spent on waiving loan principal as well as interest. Along with that, in some of the states, this farm loan waiver happened in the last few years, be it Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh. And then we have the National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture that is promoting sustainable farming, water efficiency, climate resilience. Also, government is trying to promote crop diversification with the promotion of millets. That 23 was the year of millets. Also, that is called as Shri Anna. Then we have the Kisan Credit Card that provides short-term credit to the farmers. Interestingly, in this year of this year's budget 25-26, the limit of Kisan Credit Card is increased from 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs. And this is available for allied activities also, not limited to agricultural activities only. But most importantly, it is for short-term credit only. Then we have the Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana. That is again one of the flagship scheme that was launched in this year's budget. That will be focusing on 100 underperforming districts with low productivity, low institutional credit delivery. And target is to boost the farm productivity in these districts, and this is in line with the aspirational district program. Also, this Kisan Credit Card scheme was launched in 1998 with an objective of providing adequate and timely credit support. And this is under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. It is implemented by, again, in Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare in association with NABARD and National Institute of Agricultural Extension Management. All the farmers, whether they are individual or joint borrowers, tenant farmers, sharecroppers, self-help groups, all are eligible to get the benefits of Kisan Credit Card. And it was expanded in 2019, and now it started covering certain allied sector activities like animal husbandry, dairying and fisheries. And as already said, in budget 2025, limit is also increased to 5 lakhs. Most importantly, please remember the purposes for which it is used. For meeting the short-term credit requirements, for covering post-harvest expenses, for produce marketing loan, for consumption requirement of farmer households, for working capital for maintenance of farm assets and activities allied to agriculture, as well as for investment credit requirement for agriculture and allied activities. Based on this information that we got, can we solve this question that was asked in 2020? Now, one of the technique that I will try to give you, that try to find hints from the question itself. Question says that under the Kisan Credit Card scheme, short-term credit support is given to the farmers. Question itself is saying that short-term credit is given to the farmers. Just look at this option: construction of family house and setting up of village cold storage facilities, purchase of combined harvester tractors and mini trucks. First of all, if you are knowing little bit about the Kisan Credit Card, you will be knowing that earlier limit was 3 lakh. A person cannot buy a combined harvester or build a house probably with the help of 3 lakh. So you can either eliminate option 5 and 2 and you will get the answer, that is B, 1, 3 and 4. Or if you focus on this short-term credit keyword, again you will see that construction of family house or setting up of village cold storage facility or buying combined harvester and tractor and mini trucks are not the short-term credit needs. And by eliminating these two options or either of the option 5 or 2, you can get the answer of this question without much difficulty. So UPSC in itself wants you people to qualify this examination. They are giving hints in the question itself. You'll have to remain attentive. You'll have to focus on the keywords that are given in the question to get the answer of the questions. Now, what is the path ahead to address the issue of the farmer suicide? The first important is the targeted financial relief. Especially in the cases of the benefits that are extended to the farmers, states identify the beneficiaries. And until unless we have a clear data about the farmers, about the socio-economic caste census that is used to identify beneficiaries in some of the schemes, it becomes very difficult to target these farmers who are in actual needs, especially the small and marginal farmers who are in distress, who are in need. So we need to ensure that targeted financial relief programs are coming and they are ensuring debt alleviation, as well as we need to cover the crop insurance. We need to ensure that awareness among the farmers are getting increased about the importance of crop insurance. For example, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana that we were discussing, the coverage is for post-harvest losses, whether it is happening due to incessant rainfall, drought, pest attacks, etc. So until unless farmer will be aware about these benefits that are extended under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, they will not be motivated to take that loans. Then the crop diversification that needs to be promoted. For example, it should be communicated to the farmers properly that farmers should choose the crop according to the climate of that region. For example, if some particular region is battling with drought, farmers should shift to less water intensive crops. In this regard only, recently 2 new rice varieties, which is genetically modified varieties, has been formulated by ICR and some other agencies. So varied crops should be promoted, less water intensive crops like millets etc. can be promoted, horticulture crops can be promoted, which can give more value to the farmers, and market reforms needs to be done. For example, ENAM etc. So when the price discovery mechanism will be better, farmer will be able to sell their produce at a better price. Or when we talk about folk to farm journey, that whatever is being demanded by the consumers or the people, they are being actually cultivated by the farmers itself. In that case also farmer can earn a better value for their produce. Then the mental health support, for example, Telemanas facility, that is a facility to provide support to the people in distress, that is a telemedicine facility. They should be expanded, as well as the awareness about this should be expanded in the rural or underserved areas also. CSC centers can be utilized for expanding these telemedicine facilities. And we can also take help from self-help groups, civil society organization to provide counseling access. And the innovation and the research for climate resilient crops, for high productive crops, as well as sustainable technologies and agriculture research and development should be promoted. For example, as of now, India is spending around 0.6 to 0.7% on the research and development. But it needs to be expanded. Why? Because with increasing population, the pressure on the agriculture is further increasing. To actually ensure our food security as well as nutritional security, will have to ensure the productivity is remaining intact. Plus, we also need to ensure that the crops that we are growing, that is immune from the crop, the pest attacks or the climate related changes that crop might be subjected to in future. So that is the reason we need to focus more on the innovation and the research. Similarly, if you talk about some best practices or the case study, one is this Hivare Bajar village or Hivre village in Maharashtra. This is also called as village of millennials. Initially, there was case that it was also battling with drought, low productivity, etc. But they focused on watershed management with the help of Sarpanch of that village. And now you can see that that village has become a role model for rest of the villages in India. Now there are most of the facilities that you can think in urban centers being available in that area itself. People are earning properly because they are growing horticultural crops. They are growing crops according to the climatic patterns of that area. With more focus on watershed management, they are able to deal better with the droughts, etc. So when we will focus on this bottom to top approach, the plans will be made according to the local needs. We can also become prosperous, as well as whatever the sustainable development goals we have targeted to be achieved by 2030, whether it is SDG 1 of zero poverty or SDG 2 of no hunger, or the target of becoming a developed country or Viksit Bharat by 2047. That we will be able to achieve only when we will be properly taking or utilizing the potential of our agriculture sector. This is a mains practice question that you people can write from this particular topic. Moving towards next topic, that is rising cases of road accidents. The context is that recently released NCRB report says that more than 1.73 lakh people were killed and 4.47 lakh were injured in the road accidents across the country in year 2023. And this is related to your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions, as well as syllabus of your GS paper 3, infrastructure, road, airports, railways, etc. If you look at this trend told from 2019 to 23, the people who were injured because of the road accidents, that was around 4.3 lakh in year 2022, and it is increased to 4.44 lakh in year 2023. And the death was in 2023 1.7 lakh, and it has remained more or less same in the case of 2022 data also. Also, if you look into this data from World Health Organization, it says that there were around 1.3 million deaths worldwide related to road accidents, but 1/4 or 25% of those deaths are happening in India itself, and it is around 3 lakhs. And the majority of the people who are losing their lives because of the road accidents are within that age bracket of 18 to 45 years. That is 66.5%, and 83.4% of the total road accident fatalities are 18 to 60 years of age group. Now, let's look into other insights from the NCRB 2023 data that we got. So, the peak accident time is around 6 p.m. to the 9 p.m. That is 20.7% of the total accidents are happening within that time duration of 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. What can be some of the possible reasons? Obviously, this is the measured timing of the people who are leaving their offices, they are going home. So in some of the cases, they are in hurry. Obviously, in some of the cases, they are not wearing the helmets or seat belts, and that can be one of the reasons. Or the cases of the drunken driving that are generally witnessed in evening or in the nights. So that may also be one of the reasons why we are witnessing 6 to 9 p.m. as the peak accident time. Then if you talk about the top vehicle in the fatal accidents, interestingly, it is two-wheelers only, which is causing around 79,533 deaths, which is around 45.8% of the total deaths. And majority of them is because that people are not wearing helmets. And more than that, there are certain expressways where it is not allowed for the two-wheelers to go on that road because the speed of trucks or other four-wheeler vehicles are too high, and that is the reason it might be dangerous or fatal for these people to go on that expressway. But again, you will see that there are many people who are using two-wheelers on that expressway where it is prohibited to go. Also, other high fatality groups are pedestrian, which is around 27,586, that is 15.9% of total deaths. SUV, car, jeep constitute around 14.3%, around 24,776. You don't need to remember all this data, but majority of the data you can remember that around 1.7 lakh people died because of the road accidents, and it is around 19 people who are losing their lives every hour because of the road accidents itself. Then if we talk about the state with most of the two-wheeler deaths that are happening, it is Tamil Nadu, and then we have the Uttar Pradesh. And the SUV, car or jeeps, four-wheeler deaths, majority of them are happening in Uttar Pradesh. This can be because of the multiple reasons. Obviously, if the person is not wearing the seat belts, or road infrastructure is not good, or if people are not following traffic lights or the rules on the roads properly. Then the truck, lorry, mini truck deaths, they are high in again states with a state that is Uttar Pradesh. Top causes of the fatal accidents are speeding, that is 58.6%, dangerous careless driving or overtaking, that is 23.6%. Other causes are poor weather, for example the fog or the rainfall that is witnessed. In the case of rainfall, the vehicle may skid from the road, or in the case of the fogs where visibility becomes too low, or the drunken driving, animal crossing, they all leads to around 4,952 deaths. And if you talk about the road types where deaths are majorly occurring, on the national highways it is 34.6%, and on the state highways it is 23.4%. Then if you talk about major reasons for the road accidents, first important is the man-made causes, that persons are not wearing the seat belts, persons are not wearing the helmets, they are not following the traffic lights, they are not following the norms related to lanes, they are not following the speed limits properly. In these all can be one of the reasons, or careless driving, or when person buys, let's suppose, a Thar or any high-end vehicle, they tries to check the top speed of that car or vehicle, All this careless driving etc. factors can lead to deaths, and ultimately the person can lose their lives. So this is the data that we were discussing, that NCRB report said that 58.6% is attributed to speeding, 23.6% is attributed to dangerous driving or overtaking, and rest of them, some of them are due to other deaths related to weather or the driving under the influence of alcohol or animal crossing. So again you can see that majority of the deaths, that is around 70-75%, that is happening because of the man-made causes, because of the carelessness of the people. People do not understand this thing, that life is very precious. Okay, we don't understand at that point of time because of that rush that we feel. And unfortunately, it is the parents as well as friends etc. who will have to bear the burden of the loss that they will be subjected to. Then the poor road infrastructure, that is again one of the important factor. For example, the Eastern Peripheral Expressway, which was recently opened for the public, any of the person who might have gone to that particular expressway will feel that there are a lot of jerks which people will face on that road. So there may be some structural issues, there may be some mechanical issues while building that expressway. Or the Purvanchal Expressway, which is connecting Lucknow to Gazipur in Uttar Pradesh. That is again, once that was opened for the public, after few months itself the patchwork started on that particular expressway. So what we witness, that these expressways are not being built properly, with proper engineering, with proper construction materials, and that also leads to deaths. Why? Because if the slopes will not be proper, if there will be sudden water that will be on that road because there was no process that was kept for the removal of the water, that might lead to accidents, and that because of that people might have to lose their lives. Then the vehicle conditions and the mechanical failures. When people are not going for the regular checks and servicing of their vehicles, the brake failures, or again the burst of the tires that are witnessed. Why this is happening? Because people are not prioritizing the inspection of vehicles. People are not going for the service of the vehicles on due time. And because of that, again they face various difficulties on the roads, and due to which the road accidents as well as loss of lives can happen. Then the poor awareness with regard to the road accidents, that people don't understand, they have that myopic view, they do not understand the overspeeding that I am doing. I may not able to control this vehicle if I will have to go for a sudden braking. They do not have the proper awareness about the road structure, about the curves on the roads, about the turns on the roads, or they do not have proper awareness about the rules, regulations, traffic norms, lane norms on the roads, as well as the ineffective law enforcement that is there. That, for example, if the person are not following the rules and norms, the oversight mechanism is not good. The punitive actions that should be taken against them is not that good, that helps in creating a detrimental effect. So these are some of the reasons because of which the road accidents cases we are witnessing in the India as well as in world. Now there are certain initiatives to address the issue of road accidents. For example, Brasilia Declaration is there for the road safety that came in 2015, that provides for global commitment to halve the road traffic deaths and injuries by 2030. Then we have the Decade of Action for Road Safety from 2021 to 2030. That is a UN-backed initiative to prevent at least 50% of road traffic deaths and injuries by 2030. Then we have the International Road Assessment Program, that is IRAP, which is an organization dedicated to saving lives through safer roads. Then we have certain other initiatives from India, for example, Motor Vehicles Amendment Act 2019. That provided for increased penalties for traffic violations, that also led to a lot of protest, especially from the truck drivers etc. Also it established the Motor Vehicle Accident Funds and created National Road Safety Board. Then the Carriage by Road Act 2007, that also regulates common carriers, limiting their liability. Also the Control of National Highways Act 2000, that provides for control of land within the national highways. And National Highways Authority of India Act 1998, that establishes authority for development and maintenance of national highways. Now what should be done? What should be the way forward? First of all, there is need for infrastructure improvement with better road design and engineering. For example, EPC, that is engineering, procurement and construction, which is one of the models that is followed in the road construction. Now, it is the duty of the private players or the responsibility of the private player to design that highway, expressway or the road project, procure the material and construct that material in time-bound manner. In whatever efficient way they will be constructing that project, their profitability will be proportional to that. That helps in efficient or timely completion of project. But the quality remains a concern because of that haste within which that project is completed. Now, to address this, there is need for proper oversight mechanism from the public authority to ensure that if the quality is compromised, there is proper punitive actions that are taken against the private players, or they might be blacklisted. If there will be risk of getting blacklisted, punitive actions being taken against them, they will not be compromising on the quality of the road. Also, the pedestrian and the cyclist safety. We have seen the people on the pedestrians are one of the victims of the road accidents. Footpaths are already occupied by certain people, hawkers, etc. We find it very difficult to some of the footpaths where we can walk, and then obviously we do not have any choices rather than walking on the road itself. And in that case, the risk of hit and run becomes very high. Then the public transport facilities. If that will be improved, obviously people will be preferring the public transports rather than going for their private vehicles. That can to some extent limit the cases of the road accidents as well as deaths. Then the vehicle safety. There is need for mandatory safety features. For example, now it has been mandated that airbag should be in all the vehicles. That should be mandatory for high-end vehicles as well as certain other norms like ADAS facilities, etc. ABS facilities can be also extended to other vehicles. The vehicle inspection, it should be mandatory at regular interval, and the promotion of safer vehicles by giving them some tax rebates, etc. can be the way forward. Emergency response system, the improved emergency services. I don't know whether you people have tried this or not, there are SOS facilities that are available on the expressway and the highways. In majority of the cases, they are non-functional or non-responsive. So what is the use of that in case of any person is in distress? So there should be regular inspection and maintenance of SOS facilities, and with trauma care centers being made available at regular intervals, or facilities of trauma care centers can be expanded so that that golden hour period within which the person who will be coming to the hospitals, their lives can be saved. That golden hour period can be utilized. For example, recently there was a case of hit and run or accident in Delhi. There has been delay in ensuring that the victim was produced or taken into the hospital, and that led to loss of life of that person. Now, if that person would be getting the facilities of the trauma care centers or the hospitals within due time, the lives of the persons can be saved. Then the technological interventions, for example, intelligent transportation systems can be developed. For example, the automatic braking system or ABS facilities, or the warning system with regard to the sleep, etc. that are in some of the vehicles, they can be expanded to other vehicles. Speed control devices should be there. Mandatory speed norms can come in the vehicles from the companies itself. Also, the alcohol detection systems, they can also, the drowsiness that people might be feeling, or based on how the people are behaving in the car, there can be some alcohol detection systems or awareness that can come from the car vehicle itself. Then the 4 pillars of the road safety is the engineering, enforcement, education and the emergency care. The engineering of the roads, enforcement of the laws, education should be given to the people about the importance of the road safety, about the norms that they need to follow, as well as emergency care of the improved emergency services response as well as trauma care center facilities. Also the driver behavior and educational facilities. For example, to get the driving license, most of you would be knowing that what is the mechanism that is followed. In majority of the cases, they are with the biometric system now which is implemented, the conditions are improving. But earlier, even without going to the RTO offices, there were cases, there were allegations of this, that people were getting their driving license without even going to the RTO office. Now, when it was not checked whether that person can drive vehicles and he got the license, now he is coming with his or her vehicle on the roads, the chances of accident becomes much higher. That is the reason there is need for stricter enforcement of traffic laws. There is there is need for giving proper driver education and awareness, as well as awareness campaigns can be developed, can be promoted with the help of self-help groups or the civil society organization, as well as we can also address the distracted driving on the roads. That can be actually addressed by disseminating the information regarding the importance of life, regarding the importance of the road accident. For example, if everyone will understand that the number of traffic accidents, the number of deaths that are happening on the roads every day. For example, you'll see at different expressway or roadways, there are different boards that are there, that someone is waiting for you at your home. Wear seat belts, wear helmets, or your life is very precious. That can create a nudging effect, and people might be going towards the positive changes. This is a mains practice question that you people can write from this particular topic. In our simplified section, first topic is the transformation of girls' education. This is related to your GS paper 2, education and health, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 9. So, the writer of this article is focusing on the positive change that Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao has brought in India, especially the improvement in the educational indicators, whether it is gross enrollment ratio or access to toilet facilities in the education, or improvement in the menstrual hygiene practices that are being followed, improvement in IMR and MMR, child sex ratio, etc. that are witnessed. So, let's first try to see that what exactly was the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. This was one of the flagship scheme or campaign that was launched in year 2015 by Ministry of Women and Child Development, and it was a central sector scheme. It is a central sector scheme with contribution both from central and state government. Objective was to address the issue of the decline in the child sex ratio along with related issues that they are facing in the life cycle. For example, after taking birth, the nutritional facilities that they are getting, vaccines that they are getting, or the case of female feticide that is getting witnessed even before taking birth, or the educational facilities related to early education or the primary education, secondary education, tertiary education. The importance of ensuring that the women are getting the education, employment, etc. All these are the issues that were getting addressed under this particular campaign or scheme. The key parameters based on which the success was being measured was improvement in the sex ratio at birth by 2 points every year, improvement in the percentage of institutional delivery or sustained at the rate of 95% or above, 1% increase in first trimester antenatal care registration per year. Also 1% increase in enrollment at secondary education level and skilling of girls, women per year. Now if you look into this UIDSE plus data, you can see we are witnessing improvement across all these sectors. Then also the raising awareness about the safe menstrual hygiene management. And the primarily we will be focusing on creating behavioral and the social change in the society, which can create a multiplier effect based on which we can also witness certain positive changes in certain other sectors. For example, the National Family Health Survey 5 says that if the employment opportunities of women are improving, they are getting better income, they are going to spend a major chunk of their income on the nutritional need of the child. So with better education that is being given to the women, with better employment opportunities, the nutritional capabilities of the child is also getting improved, which is also helping in improving the cognitive abilities of the child. Along with that, they are saying that this Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan was inspired from one of the flagship scheme from Gujarat, that is the Kanya Kelavani campaign, which was launched by then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Narendra Modi. And also when he was in one of the rally or the campaign, and when he asked about the educational indicators of women who participated in that rally or campaign, majority of the elderly women were well educated. It was because of the efforts that were taken in the Gaikwad dynasty from 1721 to 1947, when fathers were penalized for not educating their daughters. That shows that penal actions or punitive actions can create positive changes. Also, there are certain other benefits that this Kanya Kelavani campaign helped in achieving. For example, it helped in promoting girls' education. The attendance of the girls in the schools, the enrollment ratio, gross enrollment ratio in primary education, secondary education has improved. Also, the female literacy was increased to 70%, which was higher than the national average of 64%. The school dropout rates also reduced as much as 90%. Also, it has helped in raising the awareness. For example, raising 19 crore girls for the girls' education by auctioning the gifts that he received. He also made a personal contribution of 21 lakhs. So it was one of the schemes where the leader is also contributing from his own pocket, and that is also helping in creating the behavioral and the social change. Along with that, when it was expanded nationally in the form of Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Andolan, obviously the aim was to curb the female feticide and promote the education of the girls. And it has helped in starting in 100 critical sectors where the feticide was much higher, sex ratio was much lower, and sex ratio at birth improved from 919 girls per 1000 boys in 2015-16 to 929 in 2019-21. Also, the infant mortality rate for girls fell from 49 in year 2014 to 33 only in year 2020. And there has been improvement in rise in the healthcare facilities that are given to the women. For example, under the National Food Security Act 2013, the pregnant and lactating women are also getting the benefits. The Janani Suraksha program or the Lakshya program, which was ensuring the institutional delivery. All this has helped, along with the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, in improvement in the educational as well as social indicators, health indicators. It has also helped in improving the entrepreneurship participation of women. That is again fueled or supported by the Stand Up India scheme, or the Mudra loans that are expanded, where more than 50% are the women beneficiaries. Then we have the rise in the STEM contribution of women. And there has been certain other benefits which the writer is saying that these shifts can actually give us. For example, if women will be educated, they will be educated mothers. They will be deciding or taking decisions with regard to the needs of the child, that whether it is the nutritional needs, like what is the nutrition components that should be given, the vaccines that should be given. So better health and educational outcomes will witness with regard to the child. And educated girls are the future leaders. They will be acting as the role models, whether they will be also helping in providing certain nudging or certain support to the aspiring candidates. For example, when one of the women candidates tops in the civil services examination, the women in that state or women in whole India also gets inspired to take up that exam, because they think that if a woman, if a girl from a very humble background can top in this particular examination, others can also do with the hard work, discipline and consistency. So there is need for sustained efforts that will help in more equitable and empowered society. So educate a girl, and that will help us in saving the society. Moving towards next topic, that why is environmental surveillance important? This is related to your GS paper 3, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation. You can also relate it with your GS paper 2, health. And this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 12. So this particular write-up says that pathogen, which is usually bacteria or virus, that causes disease in humans and animals, they can be tracked by tracking the samples that we will be taking from the sewage or the wastewaters. Because the fecal material or the waste that is coming in the sewages, they can give a good idea about any bacteria, any virus or any other pathogen that is prevalent in the community. So the samples that will be taken, whether from the sewage, effluents from hospitals or other public places, they can give an idea about the pathogen as well as how they are changing day by day. But to actually get an idea about that sample, to analyze that sample, to get a correct data about that sample, there are rigorous protocols that should be followed regularly. And this is not only about the collection of the sample, the processing, as well as the detection, as well as the analysis. The SOPs or the standard operating procedures should be followed properly, so that the pollution in that sample is not happening to a larger extent. Also, by following these protocols, comparisons of pathogen load become possible. That what is the extent that pathogen is available in that particular community. Also, it is possible by whole genome sequencing. That helps in identification of that variant that is prevalent. For example, with the COVID-19, you will see the different kind of variants that were coming because of the change in the virus load that was happening. And the only way to figure out traditionally the level of infection in the community was to detect infection in patients, that are called as the clinical case detection. However, not all infected people might show symptoms and might not choose to be tested if symptoms are mild. The number of people who are tested might not reflect the true numbers of those infected. That is the reason with the samples that will be taken from the wastewater will give us a better idea. And the early warning signals why matter? Because the wastewater based epidemiology has been used for over 40 years to track several diseases and such as measles, cholera and polio. Such a disease surveillance in India through wastewater was first initiated in Mumbai for polio in 2001. During COVID-19 pandemic also, it was started in 5 cities and they continue to this particular day. With better idea about the future change that may happen in the virus or future load that might increase, the preventive as well as curative care can be planned according to the data that we will be getting. Also, ICMR has recently said that it will initiate the wastewater surveillance for 10 viruses across 50 cities. This will enable public health surveillance to pick up any increase in viral load within the community settings. Also, the sharing of data protocols across institutions and reaching common agreements on templates for surveillance framework that are disease specific is the important. This should be taken into account. Also, the programmatic approaches rather than project driven approaches must be developed that integrates wastewater, other environmental surveillance with routine disease surveillance to get a better idea about the future outbreaks that may happen. Also, the new methodology are emerging. Audio samples of people coughing in public places can be used to examine the prevalence of the respiratory diseases that are happening in that particular community. The pathogens are any agent that cause disease, usually a living microorganism that are capable of producing infection. For example, viruses, they cause hepatitis, chickenpox, smallpox, etc. Bacteria, which are teeny one-celled creature, they can live inside or outside the body. Tuberculosis, anthrax, etc. are caused by bacteria. Fungus, which is multi-celled but plant-like, similar to tree fungus, take nutrition from the plant, tree or the animal. Ringworm, etc. are the diseases that are caused by fungi. With other are the protozoa, which are one-celled creatures usually spread through the waters like malaria. Then we have the parasites, etc., which are the pathogens. Now, this was one of the questions that was asked in year 2020. And what is a virus? It is multi-celled but only can reproduce inside plant, animal or person. That is, it can only reproduce only when it have a host. So they require host to replicate or reproduce. So even to culture that, it cannot be cultured in the synthetic medium because they require a host. That is the reason this question that which of the following can be cultured in artificial or synthetic medium, virus was incorrect. Correct answer was 1 and 2 only. And why this question was asked? Because COVID-19 outbreak happened and there was a lot of studies that were going on with regard to the virus, specifically about the COVID-19. So when already there is a topic that is in news, you should actually know certain aspect about the behavior of the virus as well as other pathogens. That can help you in getting the correct answer. Only if you know that virus was incorrect here, by eliminating option 3, you can get the answer of this question. Plus, there were various techniques that are time and again given to the students that if there is can be that is used in the question or in the statement. They are soft statement, the chances of being that statement correct are very high. Again, if there is a proven fact, even in that case, if it is using can be, that particular statement or point will be incorrect. That is the case here in the case of virus. That virus cannot be cultured in the synthetic medium because it requires a host, and that is the reason statement 3 was incorrect and correct answer was A, 1 and 2 only. Moving towards next topic, that is RBI constitutes a 6-member board to oversee functioning of payment systems. This is related to your GS paper 3. Trade as well as growth and development, and this has appeared in today's The Indian Express page number 15. So RBI on Tuesday constituted a 6-member payments regulatory board comprising 3 nominees from central government to oversee the functioning of payment systems in India. And the board is chaired by RBI governor plus 3 members will be obviously including the RBI governor. It will be from RBI plus 3 members will be nominated by the central government. Members from RBI will be RBI governor, deputy governor and the executive director in charge of payment and settlement systems. The government's nominee will include Secretary of Department of Financial Services, Secretary of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, as well as Aruna Sundarajan, the former telecom secretary. This Payments Regulatory Board will be replacing the Board for Regulation and Supervision of Payments and Settlement Systems, a committee of RBI's Central Board. And the new board derives its powers as well as authority from the Payments and Settlements Systems Act of 2007. It will be supported by RBI's Department of Payment and Settlement Systems, and which will directly report to it. 5-member BPSS, that is the Department of Settlement Systems, Department of Payment and Settlement Systems, also chaired by RBI Governor, did not include government nominees. As per Act, this Payment and Settlement Systems Act 2007, decisions requiring approval during board meetings will be taken by a majority of the members present and voting, as well as the chairman will have a casting vote in case of tie. Also, if the Act further provides that chairman, if so directs, any items of business requiring a decisions may be circulated to the members for the approval. Now, what is this Payments and Settlement System Act? The objective was to establish a legal framework for regulating, supervising payments and settlement systems in India. It covers both electronic and non-electronic payment systems like AEPS and this UPI, etc. And the purpose is to promote competition, innovation and participation in payment system while ensuring the financial stability in India. The interest of customers or other stakeholders is not jeopardized. And what exactly is the payment system as per this Payment System Settlement Act 2007? So any system that is enabling payment through credit card, debit card, electronic fund transfer or other modes like UPI, NEFT, RTGS. In 2025, there was question related to NEFT and RTGS. Again, that was inspired from one of the PYQs that was asked initially. The financial discharge of payment obligation through transfer of funds between participating banks or financial institution is the definition of the settlement. Plus the system provider, all the entities which are authorized by the RBI to operate payment systems such as banks, payment gateways and the financial institutions, they are the systems provider as per this, the Payments and Settlement Systems Act 2007. Now, why I have included this topic in today's discussion is because of the fact that there was one of the question that was asked in 2022 related to Banks Board Bureau, which actually recommends the selection of heads of the public sector banks. And the name of this Banks Board Bureau is now changed to Financial Services Institutions Board. This is not chaired by the governor, rather it is chaired by a person who will be appointed by the Cabinet Committee on Appointments. And the statement governor of RBI is the chairman of Bank Boards Bureau is incorrect. By only eliminating option 1, you can get the answer of this question, that was 2 and 3 only. Again, this topic was in news in the period of 21 and 22 because this particular body was formed, and that is the reason UPSC asked this question. Now, based on these observations, you can anticipate the questions that might be asked in your 26 or 27 prelims examination. For example, here again, Payments and Payments Regulatory Board is established. So there may be one question that who is the chair here. Obviously, here it is being chaired by the RBI governor itself. So you can take learnings, you can take insights from the previous year questions which are already asked by the UPSC, that they focus on the major developments which are happening with regard to the economy, with regard to the monetary policy or the fiscal policy, according to which you can anticipate the kind of questions that will be asked in the actual examination. Next topic is that fiscal deficit at 38% of financial year 26 target in April to August period. This is related to GS paper 3, planning mobilization of resources fiscal policy, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 15. So the centre's fiscal deficit widened to rupees 5.98 lakh crore or 38.1% of the annual target in the first 5 months of 25-26 compared with 27% of the relevant target in the year ago period, that is for the same period. And why this is witnessed? Because the net tax revenue of the government is contracting or shrinking, as well as the capital expenditure that government is doing, that is taking a precedence. What exactly is this net tax revenue capital expenditure? We'll be discussing in a while. In April to August period, net tax revenue contracted by 7.3% to rupees 8.1 lakh crore, as both direct and indirect taxes underperformed. Direct taxes like income tax, indirect taxes like GST, which also saw a contraction. Also, the non-tax revenue surged by 31.7% on year following the receipt of higher than budgeted dividend from the Reserve Bank of India. And there is still no threat to the centre's plan to bring down the fiscal deficit target to 4.4% of the GDP in financial year 26 due to the robust non-tax receipts in the form of dividends, etc., that they will be getting in future. Also, any shortfall in tax revenue due to income tax cuts, that for example now income up to 12 lakh is exempted as per the budget 25-26, as well as the GST 2.0, that is next generation reforms that were taken, where the GST slabs are now rationalized. Despite that, there is estimate that it will create less impact. Also, growth in indirect tax collection remained lackluster, around 3.3% it growed in that particular period. Also, what exactly we are witnessing, whether it is the corporate tax collection or the income tax collection, that is contracting in the case of the direct tax. Now, when we talk about the components of budget, this was one of the questions that was asked in the mains examination also. There is one question related to capital receipts, etc. in this year prelims examination. Plus, there were questions related to fiscal deficit and primary deficit in this year's prelims examination of 2025. So, understanding these components of the budget is very important, under which we have the revenue budget, under which we have the revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. And then we have the capital budget, under which we have the capital receipts and capital expenditure. Under revenue receipts, we can categorize it into tax revenue and the non-tax revenue. Tax revenue is all the incomes that government is getting from the taxes like GST, corporation tax, income tax. Non-tax revenue are the earnings from dividends which they are getting from RBI or public sector undertakings, the fines, the interest, etc. that they are getting from the loans that they have already extended. Then in the case of revenue expenditure, we have the day-to-day expenses of the government, that the salaries that they are paying to the employees, or the expenses with regard to the interest payment that they are doing for the loans that they have already taken. Under the capital budget, we have the capital receipts that we have seen, under which the borrowings, that is the loans that government has taken. Then we have the under the capital receipts, we have the recovery of loans or the disinvestment proceeds, that the disinvestment that government is doing for the PSUs where the government was holding a stake. Then under the capital expenditure, whatever the government is spending on infrastructure building, roads, etc., or the loans that they are giving to certain other entities, all that will come under the capital expenditure. Now, what exactly is the fiscal deficit? So whatever the government's total expenditure is, that is revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure minus the total revenue excluding the borrowings that government is doing, that is the fiscal deficit. So what is happening? Let's suppose government is getting certain revenue and then government is doing certain expenditure. In the case of revenue budget, if the revenue expenditure will be high as compared to revenue receipts, so here government will be incurring revenue deficit. Similarly, if capital expenditure will be high as compared to capital receipts, government will be incurring a capital deficit. In that case, both revenue deficit and capital deficit will incur overall deficit. And to bridge this deficit, government borrow, and that is the case of fiscal deficit, that shows the total borrowings that government will have to make. Then we have the primary deficit, which actually tells us about the fiscal deficit minus interest payment. That what is the money that government is actually spending, or what is the amount from borrowings that government is already spending on only giving for the interest payment. So these formulas are already given in class 12th macroeconomics book, that is on page number 64. You can see the formula for the fiscal deficit, that it is the difference between government's total expenditure and total receipts excluding the borrowings. So you can say the total borrowings which has to be made can be called as the fiscal deficit. And then you have the primary deficit, that is the borrowing requirement of the government. It includes the interest obligation, and to estimate the borrowing on the account of the current expenditure exceeding the revenues, we also need to calculate what has been the primary deficit. It is simply the fiscal deficit minus the interest payment. So there were two questions. One, here there are certain numbers that are given. You have to tell whether the options related to revenue deficit, fiscal deficit and primary deficit are correct, and here what is the primary deficit that government is incurring. Two questions from page number 64 and page number 65 of one NCERT that is recommended for all the UPSC aspirants, that is class 12th macroeconomics NCERT. Now only following these basic materials you can get the answers of these questions correct. So don't complicate the preparation that you are doing. Rather, focus on the basics. You will be rewarded in the actual examination. Now, with this information, please answer these questions in the comment box. Next topic is that center extends the RoDTEP export SOP plan till March 2026. This is related to your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions, and you can also relate with your GS paper 3, growth and development, trade, etc. And this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 50. So the government has extended the remission of duties and taxes on exported products, that is RoDTEP incentive scheme, for exporters until March 31st, 2026. Exporters welcome the move, saying that it removes the substantial uncertainty and comes when Indian exports are facing significant headwinds. Headwinds are, for example, the tariffs that are announced by United States, etc. Also, the supply chain disruptions that they are witnessing, which is leading to complication in supply of raw material or the finished product. And this scheme was started in 2021 that provides refunds to exporters for any embedded duties, taxes and levies that they incurred by them and they are not already refunded under any other schemes of the government. Also, the government restored this scheme for the exports done by advance authorization holders, export oriented units and units in the special economic zones. So advance authorization scheme it is issued to allow duty free import of input which is physically incorporated in the export product, whatever the inputs or the raw materials which is being incorporated in the exported products. So here the exporters will be reimbursed the taxes, duties, levies at the central, state and the local level currently not being refunded. It will make Indian exports more competitive in the international market by boosting the employment generation. As well as how this actually functions, that reimbursement of cumulative indirect taxes happens, that will help in goal of zero rating for the export products. It will also help in utilizing of higher end technologies, because whatever the money these export units will be saving, they will be probably investing in the capital expenditure, in the better technologies, which will help in making the products more competitive. It will also help in fixed percentage tax rebate, and it will provide inclusivity across the sectors. That is all from today's analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.